of paradise, a tiny island somewhere in the South Pacific, near longitude 160, latitude 10. The last retreat from struggle, greed, and turmoil, and of course from war, until the little men of Nippon brought their dreams of conquest, death, and enslavement. Short hours by air from the fighting front lies a small part of America. Call it Mercy Island, or Pacific Island 43. A few months ago, it was a wilderness. Now it becomes the site of an advanced U.S. Naval Hospital, a vital piece of America. Like the mainland, it is threaded with roads, teeming with vitality. Consider this miracle of 100 days' work, an island transformed from a wilderness into a base hospital, a complete institution transported 5,000 miles, built by the ablest Navy men, staffed with the finest Navy doctors, equipped with the newest and most efficient tool of science. The very foliage becomes an essential material in the establishment of the island camp. And the surprise palms become poles for high-tension cables, pulsing with power for X-ray, motor, crane, and lights. A modern filtration plant to turn the pestilential island waters sweet and pure. There is plenty of water on Island 43, more water than the Navy needs. But it must be purified, for the streams are sirens, beautiful and full of death. Yes, the vigil over the water supply is eternal. Its engineering sentinels forever on duty, for each man's life depends upon it. And on these lives will depend the lives of thousands of sick and wounded for whom this haven is preparing. Power, too, for the laundry that must serve all the inhabitants of Island 43, ailing and well. An unpredictable number for an unpredictable period. This is the washing machine you couldn't buy. And unlike your laundry, so vexingly slow these days, this one never can fall behind. Nor would your laundress envy the work or the climate or the stepped-up salt ration necessary to prevent heat prostration. Ah, for the life on a South Sea isle. Strangely different, it appears, from Moon and Sixpence, or the realm of Miss Dorothy Lamour. In the days of preparation, the battles over the horizon seem curiously remote to these who organized and built. Island 43 might be some remote homesteading strip just opened up where the cattle can run free of tether. Unfenced porkers answer to no Navy rules. Enlisted men regard them as insubordinate but desirable. To feed and nourish a colony of men on an uncultivated island means long-term planning and transportation. In a wilderness that has never known a steeple or spire, faith becomes more essential than it ever seemed before. The second freedom is one that can be practiced now without waiting for a brave new world, and the thatched hut becomes a cathedral, tabernacle, chapel. Halfway across the world at Bethesda, Maryland, seagoing American medicine has its headquarters. Here in this Navy hospital and in scores of other medical centers, our outlying infirmaries take their origin. Specialized training, where physicians learn the Navy's methods and enlisted men are taught ward and laboratory techniques. The physicians in this class, intent upon bacteria, parasites and epidemics of deadly lands were your doctors not so long ago. Now their horizons have burst with bombshells. They must be physicians on call to the world. With them serve the enlisted technicians, the hospital corpsmen of the Navy, who, among other things, must learn to sight the enemy through the microscope. Most important, they must prepare to make war upon the arch foe, the airborne killer known to physicians as Anopheles punctulatus. Call him Anopheles or call him mosquito. He has knocked out more men than the Japs. The ammunition he fires results in malaria. These are the weapons which kill his larvae with diesel oil and creosote. More deadly than the Jap, he is losing like the Jap. Tropical disease is not easily identifiable, nor quickly cured. Here patients recuperate, and doctors become adept in diagnosis. Navy surgery is notable. Observation galleries and model surgeries serve as classrooms for Navy personnel who may be called upon to serve in emergencies farther north than Alaska, farther south than Samoa. At Bethesda, the assignment deadline nears. These officers and men have gone through a common experience in training, and as teams, they will work on the ships upon the seas and at the base hospitals over the seas. So they are grouped, efficient, tested machines of medicine as they march off to unexpected places like Pacific Island 43. "4,000 miles from the mainland begins the deluge. Mosquitoes born in it have been known to disable 75% of an island's population. No comical situation this, but in reality a scene of horror, for all the malignancies of Island 43 incubate at triple speed in the fetid mire, and no cooling air current breaks the suffocating humidity. So the shock troops of insecticides slough into muddy action. This is malaria control, the battle which Navy medicine must win and keep winning, whether a gun fires or a single zero falls. In this aerial ambulance, a man who would have stood a very slim chance in World War I is saved to his country. The miraculous blood plasma, marvelously portable, requiring no blood typing, can be administered in 90 seconds by a nurse in a plane, by a trained corpsman on the deck of a destroyer. Given far more freely, naturally, than the old-fashioned transfusion, it prevents the lethal effects of shock, fortifies resistance against infection. The records of all these will go into the summaries, which prove that only about 1% of the hospitalized Navy and Marine wounded lose their lives, whereas the mortality of the wounded who reached hospitals in the First World War was about 7%. Island 43 has had only slightly over 3 months to prepare, but all its departments act in concert with calm efficiency. Another saving miracle of modern medicine, the sulfa drugs, came into wide practical use, like the plasma, at about the black hour of Pearl Harbor, now guarding men against infection when additional medical aid is unavailable. Most of the doctors who preside in these surgical rooms were civilians but a short time ago, members of the Medical Naval Reserve, and many of them worked in American general hospitals with the same colleagues, the same harmonious associates who stand by them now. Surgeons, anesthetists, X-ray men, diagnosticians, and pharmacists, who in many cases serve together as civilians, carry on the sensitive collaboration of the peace years, performing staggering hours, it is true, meeting new problems, yet supported, helped by their trusted familiars, as in the days of the quiet, measured routine. To the layman, it might seem that the more challenging surgery, the more critical problem, such as brain injury, must be sent to Honolulu or the United States. But as a matter of fact, the Navy is equipped to deal with all such crises promptly and thoroughly in the island outpost. All necessary facilities, instruments, and skills are on momentary call. Thus, a delicate brain operation is successfully performed. The surroundings seem crude compared with those of a great modern hospital plant, but the essentials are here. This doctor was an All-American from Michigan. The medical complements of a naval hospital are much like those of any great general hospital. The same specialized array of talent. Physicians with tall names and fame at Mayo and Johns Hopkins. Orthopedists and neurosurgeons. Dentists with a mastery of plastic surgery. Specialists to save vision. To reconstruct the delicate organization of an arm, to mend fractured legs, and that special figure of this war, the doctor who is also a pilot, the flight surgeon. The Navy nurse, who spends her free hours reading to convalescents, is distinguished from her sister of the Army in this. She is generally a trainer of hospital corpsmen, the only nurses of the fighting ships. Wherever Americans gather, however tense their times, they will find a way to make recreation. Sports and diversions, as a matter of fact, are officially recognized and scheduled by the command of such an outpost as 43. The Navy cannot afford the neuroses of all work and no play. So despite the ever-present menace of malaria, the eternal threat of destruction from the sky, number 43 is as happy an island for convalescents, for doctors, for corpsmen, as carefully planned relaxation drill can make it. The brew is much rarer on 43 than your present shortage would indicate. A significant day for the calendar and the logbooks when the ships come in to bear a large section of the population away, the fully restored in impressive numbers to be returned to their battle stations, the more critically wounded and seriously ill to begin our welcome voyage, the long voyage home. group of wounded Japanese prisoners. There is no such thing by American medical standards as second-rate medical care for the enemy. They also are saved. This war's grotesque contraption, the invasion barge, has a double duty at 43. It has landed a whopping load of supplies, of foods and antitoxins, drugs and mosquito netting. Now it serves as an ambulance. These patients will mend in their native land in the Bethesdas that stand against a bombless sky. Most of them will mend, for only a small fraction are lost. The quick transit from the battlefield, the plasma and the sulfa drugs have given them such a start toward recovery as the men of Chateau Thierry never could know. Even stronger resources await them. Gently, sailor, these are the Navy's to guard and cherish until they stand sound and straight on the deck where the medals are handed out. And as long as the Navy fights death and disease here, making sanctuary on this deceptively beautiful, savage little isle, as long as the Navy manufactures health on this forbidding strand, this is America.